Eldridge Cleaver has written, "The viability of the Black Panther Party's approach to solving problems is testified to by the fact that it has engineered two remarkable feats that constitute the foundation for a revolutionary movement that overlooks nothing, is afraid of nothing, and is able to resolve the major contradiction of our time. On the one hand, the Black Panther Party cemented a working coalition with the predominantly white Peace and Freedom Party. On the other hand, it effected a merger with SNCC. This is the key center of the eye of the storm, because whether they know it or not, whether they like it or not, neither white radicals nor black radicals are going to get very far by themselves, one without the other."
There are a lot of people, particularly in the Bay Area, and a growing number across this country, who find this whole situation concerning Huey P. Newton so distasteful that they could not tolerate living another day after witnessing the execution of Huey P. Newton. We say that we would rather be witnesses against this than to be witnesses of it. We had originally agreed to deliver 10 lectures, and then Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck got involved in the hassle and said that I could only deliver one. So I'm thinking now about delivering 20. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Some people told me when I came down here that I shouldn't use any four-letter words because they said this was Stanford University. They said this is not a state-supported institution. This is private money. And when you curse at a state-supported institution, you're cursing part of your own money, and you can do that. But this is someone else's money, and you've got to have a little respect. There are more people in this country than there are pigs. The only way that they can win through the age-old technique of divide and conquer, by making white people think that it's the intention of wild-eyed black radicals, militants, crazy niggas with guns, to come through the white suburbs and to kill the babies. See, that's the only way that they can put us uptight, or as I said, by frightening black people with the specter of genocide, by telling us that the white people are now letting their racism surface and that they're going to support George Wallace, so therefore let's support Nixon and saddle ourselves with 4 more years of this tyranny. All power to the people. Black power to black people, white power to white people. Okay? You haven't had white power, you've had pig power. All right! If you had white power, you wouldn't have those pigs inflicting power upon you right now.
The decision was turned down today by Justice Thurgood Marshall. And that's where the legal situation of Eldridge Cleaver stands, a man that has yet to be convicted of anything, and they're attempting to send him back to the penitentiary.
Mrs. Cleaver, do you know where your husband is?
No, I don't know where he is.
When was the last time you saw him?
Sunday night.
Did he give it any indication at that time of his plans for today?
No.
It's rumored that Eldridge is out of the country. Do you think this is possible?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
Someone said Cuba even.
Why not, Kathleen?
Speak up, Kathleen.
Well, first place, he hasn't. I saw him on Sunday, and he couldn't have gotten out of the country that quickly. And in second place, that he indicated he had no intention of leaving the country.
You think he's still in San Francisco?
I think he's in the Bay Area. We view the campaign as primarily a means of educating and organizing the exploited and colonized masses, black people, brown people, and poor people, and those whites who will struggle to end racism and colonialism, rather than a move to get votes. May 8th, he was formally charged with 3 charges. 1, possession of a gun. 2, association with people of bad repute. And 3, refusal to cooperate with his parole officer. Now, this is only because it requires 3 charges on which to violate him. Now, the possession of a gun is something which is yet to be proven in court. This is a charge for the court to decide. The association with people of ill repute, bad character, is clearly a political judgment on the part of the pigs, because the people in association with Black Panthers. And the refusal to cooperate with his parole officer is completely groundless. And it's only to isolate him, to prevent him from having visitors, prevent him from having books, prevent him from having contact, prevent him from having dealings with the press, to isolate him, to keep him from dealing with the politics and the people that he was dealing with on the outside.
My reaction is not one of surprise, because I know that the California legislature is full of criminals, reprobates, scalawags, and other negative categories of hypocritical politicians. So that when this man by the name of John Birch stood up and made this resolution, I wasn't surprised at all, because with Max Rafferty running around loose and Ronald Reagan running around loose, you can expect almost anything. I want to thank those who were responsible for inviting me down here. And I want to thank Mickey Mouse, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Duff Rafferty for making it possible. People have lost their spirit, that they can no longer deal with the problems confronting society, that it's necessary to throw up both hands and allow the professionals like Nixon, Reagan, Humphrey, and Georgie Boy Wallace to come in and rescue us and to save us and to offer salvation to the people. But we think that this is another lie, a part of the tissue of lies that everyone in this country has been fed all of their lives, all of the history of this country. And we say that people don't have to submit to lies. I think that a racist pig we call bone-nosed Richard Milhouse Nixon will be the next president. I think so because He's bankrolling all this publicity for George Wallace so that he can have George Wallace on the far right of him, and he'll be able to point to George Wallace and come to the people and say that George Wallace is a far-out right-wing extremist, and that he himself is in the middle of the road with a wild-eyed, flaming radical on the left by the name of Hubert Humphrey or something like that, you know.
Just on behalf of my husband, I'd like to say thank you very much to the faculty and to the students for this very beautiful and moving tribute to a man that has been persecuted from the regions of California till today by the Supreme Court.
The Uncle Tom, the bootlicker, the pig, a bootlicker, Thurgood Marshall, supposedly there to say that we're making progress, but black people are not making any progress, so the revolutionary struggle should go on forth. Eldridge Cleaver will be defended by a hook or crook.
Instead of giving you a piece of paper, we are inviting you to our party in Lower Sprout Plaza, where we're having a band and cornbread. Thank you.
States the petition for a stay, not for reversal of the order, but simply for a stay of the enactment of this order to return him to the penitentiary until the Supreme Court could listen.
Marshall.
For new educational programs which meet a period of crisis. We dedicate ourselves to the cause that your distinctive message and your voice may be heard in future without hindrance in an academic community where no seeker after truth shall be denied. Thank you.
It's a committee to mobilize public support and put political pressure on the authorities that have revoked Eldridge Cleaver's parole and maintain him in prison as a political prisoner. It's called the International Committee, for it is based in San Francisco, New York, Rome, London, Amsterdam. We have committees in Detroit, and we are planning to mobilize the international support very, very definitely. The fact that Eldridge's book has been sold and published in Italy, Holland, Paris, London, Germany, possibility of being in Cuba and Japan and other countries across the world will make it natural for us to mobilize the international support around this writer who has been politically imprisoned.
We feel that the Eldridge Cleaver case is a case of political persecution, not unlike that of Sacco and Vanzetti or Dreyfus or Eugene Debs or Tom Mooney. And we feel that people all over the world, all over this country, are going to rise to the support of Eldridge Cleaver, who is imprisoned now as a political prisoner, and the revocation of whose parole was done in a most unconstitutional way, depriving him of due process of law. We already have nearly 5,000 sponsors of the committee, and we're going for 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, as many as we can get.
We have never said that Huey could receive a fair and impartial trial in Alameda County. Deputy District Attorney Lowell Jensen is a man who has long been involved in persecuting black people and railroading black people through those courts. The fact that he is continuing to do this in the case of Huey P. Newton is not surprising to us.
Shortly before the rally began, the Black Panthers gathered in the yard at Defremery Park. There were about 100 of them. They went through various drill exercises. They carried banners calling for Huey Newton to be freed.
I've already accepted it, and it has already gone through. Only thing that remains is whether or not the regents will see fit to strike it off. And if they don't do that, then the course is set. The students have already indicated that they want to sign up, and myself and those who are helping me prepare the course, we're ready to go on October the 2nd. So just don't strike the course from the curriculum, we will be there.
Give me that.
Oh, here.
I had a spear right down the came
The basic thing they have to decide is whether Judge Sherwin in Fairfield acted properly and within his own jurisdiction. And I think that the court will decide that.
One of the justices kept mentioning a case which cited that a parolee didn't have to have a hearing at all to have his parole revoked. What do you think about that?
That was a case that came up about 6 years ago, or 8 years ago, and the issues were not properly argued. You understand that every time a prisoner who's in our penitentiaries they file writs of habeas corpus. They're not represented by counsel most of the time. They're done carelessly and haphazardly, and these haphazard writs of habeas corpus that are filed in persona proper by the person himself create bad laws without proper application and proper reasoning of these laws. It's about time that the prisoners and the people who are on parole started having some basic rights.
What happens now is that a man on parole, that is, who has been released from prison and allowed to serve time outside of prison, if a factual allegation, a new fact is alleged against him, for instance, as in the Cleaver case, that he didn't report to his parole officer, he doesn't have the chance to bring in witnesses, to have an attorney to help him contest that fact. No matter how many witnesses he has to prove that he did report to his parole officer, he doesn't have the chance to present those witnesses. We told the court that in our opinion, fundamental fairness requires that he have the chance to show by witnesses and by evidence that he did not violate his parole.
Seems to be a dispute still continuing over at the University of California whether you will or will not lecture 10 times. If you're asked to lecture 10 times there, will you?
Right. My feeling at the present time is that
case may be off campus if asked.
Well, I said all along that I take my lead from the students and the faculty members who invited me there. If they request that I deliver one, I'll do that. If they request that I deliver them off campus, I'll do that. Whatever they request, that's what I'll be there to do.
Another major one over at the university?
Well, I don't know about that. I guess that depends upon how much pressure the governor and Rafferty try to put on the students and how much the students can take.
What do you think of what the students will do? Do you think they'll stand up to this pressure?
Yes, I think that they will demand that their rights be vindicated at all costs.
The battle over Cleaver lecturing at the University of California at Berkeley may be causing lots of problems for lots of different people, but one thing is certain. The publicity has made Cleaver big at the box office. This is Ed Arno for Eyewitness News at Stanford University.
The crowd was large as expected, and the response was warm as expected. For many, this was their first time to hear Eldridge Cleaver speak in person. Now the real test begins. They'll have to evaluate whether they want a direct confrontation with the Regents over Eldridge Cleaver's right to lecture here at Cal. Belva Davis for Eyewitness News at UC Berkeley.
Here at the University of California, as long as the faculty members, as long as the students can tolerate my profanity.
And I think the faculty is stand up against this. But I would also say that I found that the performance of Mr. Cleaver today here on this campus and on other campus was a disgrace. And I would like to point out that the great majority of students who were standing out here when Mr. Cleaver made his appeal about chanting the phrase that he did about Governor Reagan did not join in on it. That's right. There's nothing smart about dirty language Mr. Cleaver ought to get over his obsession with obscenities. This doesn't add to the conversation.
There's nothing dirty
Mr. Cleaver has a very good point to make. He's a very eloquent man. But I think that this obsession with obscenity, pornography, talk about guns, his statement yesterday that Governor Wallace ought to be assassinated, this is not part of the discussion. I support Mr. Cleaver's right. I think he should lecture on this campus, but I think his performance was disgraceful.
It was terrific. He covered...
You enjoy it?
Yes, very much. Mr. Cleaver is very impressive.
Did you find it informative?
Very much so.
Are you enrolled in the course, or are you an
Yes, I
auditor?
am. No, I'm taking it for credit.
May I ask you what you thought of the class?
I thought it was very good because he was more of a lecturer than a political figure like he was made up to be.
Did he handle his topic well?
Yes, I thought so.
Were the students generally interested?
I thought so, but there was too much of an atmosphere of, you know, like a political carnival that it was made up to be instead of a class.
Some of the students have said that they will continue to demand that the course get credit. What's your impression about the credit, no credit issue?
Well, I'm aware that it's very important to the students. I'm aware that they said that they will be resourceful in demanding that they do get credit for this course because we're dealing with some relevant material, because it is important that people have this information, not so much from myself, but this type of information. The students are approaching this in a very serious manner, and I don't see why they shouldn't be given credit, and I support them in demanding that. The case is so ridiculous, the evidence so non-existent that we will be victorious with ease and won't even require any show of support. So
you don't know of any planned demonstrations then?
No, I don't know of any planned demonstration.
Considering the possibility that you might not be in the White House come next year, what will you be doing?
Still talking about the pig who is in there.
Who do you think will be elected president?